I just think that maybe it's just the way my mum cooks them, though. Right now, young man.
Into the vegetarian.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a vegetarian as well, but I just don't like Brussels sprouts. Now, Peter Edwards, former editor of the Labour List, you have just arrived in the studio, running late. How very dare you?
Many apologies.
It's a tradition to be on time for my show. So, come on, I know you're a vegetarian, but you're going to do the traditional thing? You're going to have a vegan turkey slice or something or other?
I'll probably have something veggie or maybe fish. I should have said I'm pescatarian. I gave up meat 20 years ago. But let's talk about the tradition, because that's what matters. I mean, I think the great thing about Britain today, which is the only country I've ever lived in, that everyone enjoys a get-together at Christmas. I looked it up. There's about 27 million people that identify as Christian in the UK, but I've worked with a huge number of Jewish and Muslim colleagues over the years, particularly Muslim community. It's still the things that matter in most faiths: coming together with your family, showing appreciation, perhaps looking upwards if you have faith, giving presents. And obviously all these things are often based around a meal as well. And certainly, you know, I'm a Christian and I'm British, but I don't eat meat, but otherwise I'm fairly mainstream. But you join in the tradition. I hope we can hold on to them for years to come, while recognising perhaps some of them were invented by Charles Dickens in the 19th century and they don't go back to time immemorial. Yeah,
but he invented the ghost story at Christmas as well, which is also a pretty good shout, to be fair.
Which we all love, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But Ben, that's a good point. It doesn't matter what faith you are or of no faith. It is a time of year. I mean, look, you've got trees here. It's sparkly lights. It's all glowing. Eyes full of tinsel and fire. I love that song line. But it's just time to get together with your family, spend time with your family.
It is.
And share, you know, the loveliness of this time of year.
Yeah, and lots of different faiths celebrate a day off on the 25th of December. And, I mean, I was born in Pakistan, and actually, funny enough, the founder of... I don't know whether this was politically accidentally on purpose or whether this actually was the case, but Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who was the father of Pakistan, happened to be born on the 25th of December.
Aww.
So they could declare the 25th of December a national holiday and everyone could celebrate together. And, I endorse completely, by the way, everything that Peter has just said about Christmas Day, which is a remarkable event because we very rarely agree. And can I say, Peter, what a lovely tie you've got on today as well.
Oh, stop it. Rim you.
But the question I've got for Peter is, do you like Brussels sprouts?
Oh.
I do. I like all veg.
Yeah.
I'm
well, there you go. You're in a minority here.
Right, OK. Now, the other... I mean, it's Chinese takeaways, but Indian takeaways and our Japanese takeaways, sushi, which is a seamless link for my story. I've got a friend recently who went on holiday to Japan.
Yeah.
And came back raving about Japanese culture, how it was very traditional, and absolutely loved it, and really was taken at the whole thing. And he goes, it was just so brilliant because it was so traditionally Japanese. This particular friend of mine, probably an ex-friend after me telling this story, also thinks that if we get upset about British traditions dying out, that somehow makes you racist. So it's like, you know, we should be more multicultural. We should accept, everything and anything, and British tradition isn't that important. So I'm coming to you on this one, Ben.
Yeah.
He's missing something here, I think.
So this is a slightly more serious point. You know, we've discussed Christmas in a sort of broader, fun sense. But this is a very serious point, by the way, because I was on GBNews the other day with a lady debating this very issue, and her basic line was, unless British society is prepared, unless people in British society are prepared to accept our values and champion our values, celebrate our values, actually you're bigoted. And I think what we're developing into is a nation not of a largely homogeneous, harmonious cultural makeup, but one where cultures are, living in their own separate silos without much integration going on. And let me just say, straight off the bat, I think diversity of thought is very significantly improved if you interact with people of different cultures, different backgrounds, different experiences from different parts of the world, because you learn from all of that. But if you have the kind of immigration that we've had in the UK, the numbers that we've had coming in, without any attempt to assimilate, without any ability to really forge a new unified approach to the way we live, you end up, I think, with division rather than diversity of thought. And that's how multiculturalism is coming to be played in the UK. It's not the good that comes out of, modest immigration that allows societies to evolve over time for their collective betterment. What we're getting is division in society and us and them all the time. And I find that very worrying.
Peter, I mean, we've just been live to Tower Hamlets, where there is where Jeremy Corbyn is expected to speak at a Palestinian peace demonstration. Now, I live in Tower Hamlets, and if you don't know it, it's one of the poorest boroughs in East London. It's very, very multicultural. But it is quite a divided borough. People don't tend to mix. So Ben's got a point that, multiculturalism doesn't actually appear to be working that well.
Oh, I don't agree, and I should say I live in Tower Hamlets as well.
Oh, do you?
Have for a decade or so, and people do mix.
You're probably my neighbour.
People do mix enormously. But Ben's right. I don't quite agree, but Ben's right to ask a question about integration. But in terms of East London, it is incredibly diverse, and the institutions I'm tied to, which are a workplace or a Christian church or a political party, that's kind of how I spend my free time. Those are all very diverse. But I don't quite agree, but Ben did ask a legitimate question, which was, if you have different communities living side by side but not talking to each other, that's not a model for diversity. That's just people living in different groups doing their own thing. The other point, and I don't think it's about immigration, because I'm keeping that as a separate topic, but wherever you've got communities living together, and if community grows, and obviously we've seen an influx of Ukrainians, which we welcome very much in the last 18 months, is there has to be adequate infrastructure, schools, transport, and particularly GP places, and so on and so on.
So what do you think? I mean, why is it OK? Question to both of you. Why is it OK for some cultures, like the Japanese culture, wonderful, absolutely, everything is incredibly Japanese and they don't veer from that? That's fine. But there is an implication that if you want British traditions to survive, not just Christmas, but lots of traditions, that you are somehow racist. What do you say to that, Peter?
I don't really recognise that at all. Let's take one specific example. Every Christmas in some tabloid newspapers, we get a story about a local government telling a primary school they can't have a nativity. But then there's a backlash, and everyone from every culture says you can have a school nativity at Christmas. Just like in one of my previous workplaces, we supported staff to have a celebration at Eid, the Muslim festival. There's actually respect between faith groups rather than disapproval. And I think most of your viewers and most people I've met in politics will accept that. Diversity is not about banning stuff, it's facilitating everyone to honour their own tradition within a British context.
Ben, same question to you. Why is it OK for Japan to be incredibly Japanese, but in Britain it could be a bit racist?
So, I mean, I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head, Dawn, and this is the argument that I have with anyone who suggests for a moment that British institutions are racist against ethnic minorities or people from minority religious backgrounds or transgender or whatever. My argument is absolutely not. Our British institutions, the entire United Kingdom, the way we're structured is really to do us, the majority, down, to do our basic traditional British values down, to dumb our own feeling of nationhood down. If you're proud of the Union Jack, you're criticised, you're sort of a far-right nationalist. In other countries, that's not the case. Going back to Pakistan, they very proudly fly their Pakistani flag everywhere. And, we're almost more proud in this country about our support of Ukraine than we are of the United Kingdom.
But people from Ukraine are sort of like mainly blonde, blue-haired. That makes it fine.
No, but what I'm saying is, we will champion their right to national sovereignty more than we will champion our own right. Yeah. And we are absolutely not institutionally racist against ethnic minorities. If there's any prejudice now that's crept into the United Kingdom, it is this. It is in order to keep a lid on ethnic divisions flaring up, we've dumbed down and required the majority of the people in the United Kingdom to subjugate themselves to these other cultures. And the racism, if it exists, which by the way, I do think it exists, I think is against the majority white people. It is the promotion of ethnic minorities and minor religious groups over and above and to the detriment of the majority.
OK, interesting point. I think your mic's failing now, unfortunately. Well, I admit that I am prejudiced, OK? against Brussels sprouts. So. Right, OK, Ben Habib, thank you very much. And Peter Edwards, thank you very much. And no gold star, like you were late. Right, you are watching and listening to GB News Saturday with me, Dawn Newsom. Lots more coming up on today's show.